I totally agree.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Even more buffer, like 940 or something.
Yeah. I mean, we'll know when there's like 50 people on there that we're probably good to go.
That would be sick.
I'm doing it right now. There's one. Oh, you're gonna pull that up on your computer? That actually might not be a bad idea. It's up right now.
I also have an open group chat with my mom. Before this, I had it for a second, and then.
We still haven't practiced the intro yet.
Yeah, let's do that quick.
So we're the video.
Music and video.
Okay, I got you.
So the thing at the beginning just ended. You're up.
Yep.
And then
I'll read that.
lights should be flashing when we walk in.
If that's not too much, yeah. Next, it's Connor Kerpat.
Oh. Check it out. Junior Mafia. I like this. Yeah.
In the 3-hole, it's Rob DeFelice.
This here's a jam for all the fellas. Try to do what those ladies tell us. Get shot down cause you're overzealous. Play hard to get females get jealous. Okay, smarty, go to a party. Girls are scantily clad and showing body. A chick walks by.
And last, and probably not least, it's Nick Vete. Without further ado, the draft is now open. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now on the clock.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, it feels great to have you here, and it feels great to be producing our very first live show here in the studio, and really for the best thing, probably in all of sports, the NFL draft. Nick, how are we feeling?
This is honestly a testament to halftime on the Hudson. To think where this mock draft started 2 years ago, I think was the first time that you and Matt did it together with another crew. Oh, Rob was there as well.
Rob was in there.
And then to have it come last year during COVID and now we're live in studio, I think it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It feels great to be here and to be here with this group nonetheless. Rob, Zach, how you guys feeling about today?
I'm feeling great. You know, we've been working towards this moment for a long time. You know, all the hours we put in getting ready for this, I'm beyond excited to be on our first actual live show and with a great group of guys to be doing it with nonetheless.
I'm jazzed up. We figured out how to get music in here. We got the lights going. I got the earpiece. I can actually hear the control room. We got everything a TV studio has right here at Marist. Now we got to make some picks in a mock draft.
Well, the first pick is in. With the first pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trayvon Walker, defensive end from Georgia.
Yeah, so picking Trayvon Walker here, you know, as the representative of the Jacksonville Jaguars, which nobody really wants to represent the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, I stepped up, I represent them, and I don't know if I would pick Trayvon Walker first overall, but in this spot, I am, as the Jaguars GM, Trent Baalke, taking Trayvon Walker. His freaky athleticism is the reason he's going to get picked first. He's the number one in all of the betting odds. A big flip from Aiden Hutchinson, who many thought would be number one this whole time, but Trent Baalke loves going for the guys who have tons of athleticism, and Trayvon Walker fits that, though it is weird to say tons of athleticism because like Nick was talking with me about yesterday, everyone in the top has athleticism.
Yeah, what's weird about this pick to me is how much Trayvon Walker has moved up after the combine. I mean, give this guy some credit, right? I think before this combine, he wasn't really slated to be a top 5, maybe not even top 10. But after what people saw what he did at the combine, at his pro day, I mean, he jumped right up and to number one of all things. Wow, that's pretty incredible to me.
Well, we have the second pick coming in now. Without further ado, the Detroit Lions select with the second pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end, University of Michigan. And Houston is now on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, this pick just made all too much sense for me, right? With a guy like Aiden Hutchinson on the board, he just seems like an absolute grinder, exactly what Detroit needs, right? They needed that leader, that strong presence on the defensive side of the football. And let me tell you this guy is an absolute animal, good hand strength, good movement. He has showed study progression every single year that he's been in college playing for Michigan. He's a huge reason why they finally overcame the big hump and beat Ohio State and made it to the national championship game. So, yeah, this makes too much sense. I'm going to Aiden Hutchinson.
You know, it's interesting, too, because I feel like this past season, he really kind of came into his own where his athleticism and size finally kind of filled out and met the stats that he was able to put up this year. And you're right, to do it with the team in Michigan who finally got over the hump, and he was the leader of that defense. I think the Lions are going to be ecstatic to get him here. I think it's going to be a good pick, and the hometown kid is staying in Michigan.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great pick. Hutchinson, he's the best prospect in the draft. He's the cleanest prospect in the draft. If I was the Jaguars GM, which I was trying to represent him, I would take Hutchinson. I think he has maybe not as high a floor as the other two pass rushers, Thibodeau and Walker, but his floor is higher. His ceiling may be lower, but he's going to be a 10-sack guy every year, and the Lions need some blue collar. He fits in with what the Lions love to do.
Well, now the third pick has come in, and with the third pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Sauce Gardner, cornerback from Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, I think this pick is pretty easy for Houston. They certainly need a lot of help in their secondary to finally get some stops. They're getting burnt deep all throughout the season, and Sauce Gardner, really fits Lovie Smith's scheme very, very well. He's a fast corner, super physical. He's, day one ready as a starter, and he's going to make an immediate impact for the Texans. So I think this is a no-brainer here for the Texans to make this pick.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting pick coming from you, actually, because there's been a lot of buzz going around that, maybe Derek Stingley's going to be the guy over there at number 3. Yes, he's had injury trouble in the past, but a lot of people are amazed by his upside. But I will say, Sauce Gardner seems like the safer pick here, and he's going to have an immediate impact on that Texans defense.
Real quick, if I can, too. I mean, this is a guy, the more that you watch him when he played, obviously smaller school, maybe he's not always on national TV. When you get to watch him play and you go back and you watch his film, I know I fell in love with him more and more every single time I watched him. And I mean, to look at what he did in college, too. I mean, to not allow a single touchdown in the time he was there was absolutely incredible. I mean, how often does that happen, no matter who your competition is? And the length that this guy has, I think it's an absolute fire pick for whoever chooses it.
No doubt.
Pick number 4 is in. With the fourth pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Kayvon Thibodeau, an edge rusher from Oregon.
This was a tough pick at this point in the draft because I thought this decision was going to come down to Sauce Gardner or Thibodeau. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at defensive players going early in this draft and a guy with as much upside as Thibodeau has, I don't care about the character issues if I'm the New York Jets. You got to go out there. You got to get a guy who has potential to be an absolute star, has potential to be the best player from this draft class. You can talk about him not having the heart to go out there and play, not loving football. But when you go out there and you play through injury his senior season like he did, and you still go out there and put up 49 tackles, 7 sacks in the limited games that he ended up in, only the 10 games that he played, I mean, that's showing some love of football to me. And this is a guy the Jets can finally get a guy who can potentially develop into a premier pass rusher that they haven't had in a long time.
I'm going to be honest. I'm in complete shock here that you went Kayvon Thibodeau. I thought for sure it's a lock on the offensive line getting a guy like Evan Neal, but I mean, I see what you're saying.
Well, here's what it is. Here's what it is, because you've already got guys on that line who are kind of built up. At this point, you're almost adding a luxury at this point. And I don't think you add a luxury when you have the 4th overall pick in the draft. And I get it, Kwanu's there. He could potentially move into guard and play inside. But the way that this board shakes out, if defensive players are going high up here, the Jets have some picks in the second round. They have pick here at 10. We'll have to see how the board falls.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of wasn't expecting that, to be completely honest. This is the first real shock I've seen of this draft so far. I thought, to be completely honest, I thought Rob was going to make the first shock. That was kind of like going to throw everything off. But it's not. It's actually you, Nick. So shout out to that.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a shock Kayvon Thibodeau is, though I do think that the Jets will drop him on the board because the Jets are all about high-character players now. Now, they drafted Mekhi Becton, and he's had some problems since he was there, and now they're shopping him. I think they will take the tackle because I think Joe Douglas has proven he loves the big guys in the trenches. And I also think if the Jets are in this spot, they love Jermaine Johnson, the pass rusher out of Florida State, over Thibodeau. What do you think, Rob?
I really think I'm kind of surprised by it, too. I think, Wilson obviously showed that he is not able to get the job done if he doesn't have the support up front. And I think that is the biggest issue that the Jets need to address in this draft. And so, I mean, Thibodeau is a good ball player, and, we kind of already addressed the character issues. But I think the underlying problem that the Jets still need to address is the offensive line. So I'm certainly a little surprised by this pick here.
Yeah, but the talent is undeniable with Thibodeau. If he's on the field, he's going to bring it. The character concerns kind of wash. He's going to get paid millions of dollars. He said he wants to play in New York, the biggest stage. He said it's his second home. He would fit.
Well, going from the Jets to the Giants. With the 5th pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Evan Neal, offensive tackle from Alabama.
Let's go,
Carolina
baby.
Panthers are on the clock.
Yep. The Giants are taking Evan Neal. As the big Giants fan here, I love it. I can't love it more. We need the big guy. Evan Neal is 6'3", 337 pounds with a full six-pack. You can't find that in any other specimen on the planet. He's going to come in. What we need to do is protect up front. I got the sunglasses on for good vibes. I need good vibes as a Giants fan from this draft. There's been lots of turmoil, lots of sadness the last decade. Evan Neal's going to bring lots of happiness. Him and Andrew Thomas are going to be the two bookend tackles on each side. We're finally going to learn if Daniel Jones is the guy. Evan Neal has played all 5 tackle positions in college. Brings great versatility. This is slam dunk. Giants are sprinted to the board. I sprinted up to Mr. Goodell to hand him this pick. Awesome time, Giants fans. Let's rejoice.
You know, Zach, unfortunately for you, sorry, Rob, to cut you off real quick. Unfortunately for you, there is no highlight reel for an offensive lineman, but you have all the energy needed right now. He is a great talent out there. It's going to be huge. Who knows? Maybe Daniel Jones will be a little bit better than subpar now for you guys. Is he the franchise? I don't know. But yeah, that's a great pick for the Giants.
I first of all don't appreciate the offensive line slander coming from over there.
What the heck, Nick? Where's the Evan Neal highlights, bro?
I think every offense.
Hey, there's another offensive lineman we'll get to. He's a monster. You'll see his highlights soon enough. Don't you worry.
Just saying, don't appreciate the slander. But I don't know if you guys have seen it recently. It's been going on kind of today. But there were some concerns about his health going on with his medical clearance at the combine. And then so there were some questions raised. But his offensive line coach just came out and said it's all fake news. These health concerns aren't real, But they did not ask him to come back for a medical recheck at the combine. So I don't know if these health issues are true, if they're not, if we'll find out more between now and tomorrow night. But that could play a huge role in his stock and where he ends up.
Yeah, I get that. We dealt with Dave Gettleman, the worst drafter in NFL history the last couple of years. Joe Shane came in and, he started some smoke screens. He started some rumors about Evan Neal's medical condition so he could bump down to the Giants. And we got him, we got him. We're good. We're good.
Well, the Giants perhaps hitting on a draft pick there. That would be a very big surprise. But nevertheless, with the 6th pick in the NFL Draft of 2022, the Carolina Panthers select Ikem Ekwonu, offensive tackle from NC State.
Yeah, this pick for me, to be honest, I thought Ekwonu and Charles Cross. I thought Charles Cross was going to be the guy I had to go with, to be completely honest with you. I thought it was Evan Neal, Ekwonu were both going to be off the board. But no, I have the option to pick Ekwonu and Charles Cross. Not a bad option for the Carolina Panthers there. I think Ekwonu makes a lot of sense for them. He can be a starting left tackle in the NFL. He's really good in the rushing attack, but he could fit any scheme really. But yeah, he is a really great player who has a lot of good movement. He can really open holes in the run game, as you can see here right now. Look at that hole, cutting him open, boom, hit the second level. Look at that. So that's exactly what the Carolina Panthers need when it comes to Christian McCaffrey and that Carolina running attack. Christian McCaffrey is the backbone of that team as long as he stays healthy. So getting out and getting Ekwonu is absolutely huge for them.
I got to say, I kind of helped you out with this pick, dropping him here.
Did, yeah.
I think if the Panthers have the option to still get an offensive lineman here, that's certainly capable. We've heard that they've talked about potentially looking to shop this pick as well, move back, which is certainly a possibility. I think that happens if there's a team, but I think the thing that we're going to kind of see is there's going to be a lot of teams open to trading back, and we're not going to see very many teams willing to trade up because there's not that star quarterback that you're going to go up and get necessarily. There's a lot of hype around Malik Willis. There's a lot of intrigue around Malik Willis, but I think it's interesting at this point that there hasn't really been, anything looking to trade up at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just wondering why there was no package for Evan Neal if there's a package for Ekwonu. But the Panthers need a tackle. The quarterbacks, it's a little rich, and you also have to look at the roster. They still have Sam Darnold on the roster. They're paying him a lot of money. You don't usually pay that guy that kind of money to sit on the bench. And Matt Rule needs to win now and getting an offensive tackle to protect Sam Darnold. Let's face it, Sam Darnold's going to perform similar to most of these rookie quarterbacks this year anyway. So get an offensive tackle to produce, to help Panthers produce right here is probably the right way for Matt Rule, and comes Scott Fitterer to go.
And now the Giants are back up.
Ooh.
And with the 7th pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback from LSU.
Yeah, this was a pretty easy decision to take Derek Stingley Jr. If this was 2 years ago, he would have been the number 1 pick in the draft. His freshman year, he was just as impactful for that LSU team that won the national championship as Joe Burrow with 6 picks that year. He's had injuries the last 2 years. Injuries are the only thing bumping him down. But Joe Shane has proven he's not afraid to take a risk. His last 2 years in Buffalo, they took Josh Allen, who had some concerns, some injury concerns in college. They took Gregory Rousseau last year, had some injury concerns in college. He's proven he's willing to take a risk. And in Wink Martindale's new 3-4 defense, the Giants need corners who can play on an island. Stingley's NFL ready. He's proven. If Gardner was here, it might have been hard. I might have had to take Gardner. But Stingley was here, I would take him. And with Neal and Stingley, the Giants fans are sitting happy. You got Neal, who's the safe pick. Stingley, who's high reward. There is some risk, but I'm banking on the reward. I tried to trade out. My fellow GMs didn't pick up my calls, which is a little rude. But, it's fine. We'll stay here. We'll take Stingley. And, some things are cooking in New York, I hope.
Yeah, I'll comment real quick on Stingley. I talked before. Sauce Gardner is a guy that I fell in love with. I think all the intangibles along with what he's actually produced on the field is something that makes Sauce really intriguing. And we haven't necessarily seen that on the field from Stingley except for his freshman year. But I think the thing with Stingley is that even though he had the injuries, another thing is he was playing for Ed Orgeron too. When things were starting to fall apart, and I think that's got to be part of it. You had a lot of unhappy players there with Ed Orgeron. So I don't know if that goes into it as well. A lot of players have come out since and said that he's unhappy. So I think just the overall situation, it's hard to judge Stingley off of his recent production.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more with the fact that, with how uncertainty and how unstable that LSU team was with all the coaching shifts and all that, and then with his injury history. Before this year, we were talking about this guy being a top 3 pick. Really, we were. And now, here we are. I think his upside still warrants him to be where he's picked today with number 7. I think the Giants get a steal if he stays healthy, if he stays and plays to the potential that a lot of people think he can, which I think he can if he stays healthy.
Now to Atlanta. With the 8th pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the Falcons select Garrett Wilson, wide receiver from the Ohio State.
Yeah, listen, some people think that Atlanta's going to go quarterback here. Some people think that there are other needs that they need to address. But with Calvin Ridley out on suspension, they brought in Mariota, so they at least have an experiment to try at quarterback for the season. So what they need is to get Mariota weapons. And someone like Garrett Wilson is an insane pickup for them at this spot here. He had over 1,000 receiving yards this past season, 12 touchdowns for Ohio State. He's an absolute animal. He's day one ready. And his combine performance, every single drill that he did in the combine was putting up absolute numbers, putting on a show at the combine. So I think he is, in my opinion, the best receiver in this draft for the Falcons, and I think that that's where they're going to go with that.
Yeah, I think they should go receiver too. I think we've learned in modern day NFL, you need to score as many points as possible. Defense matters, but scoring as many. If you can't score functional offense, if you can't score 25 a game, you're not going to win in the NFL. The Falcons have holes everywhere on the roster. You could argue the roster is the worst in football right now. And to plug Garrett Wilson in there, he's top receiver in the draft. Give whatever quarterback, likely Mariota.
I want to hear it. They're better than you guys.
Hey, we're having fun here. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah.
Not this. This is exactly what will not happen. You want my bold prediction? This trade will not happen. I love trades, but this will not happen. 0%, not even 0.1, 0.0000%. So, I like that we're having fun, but let's be real. But now that we're 10 picks in, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Hello, everyone. I'm joined by ESPN radio host and Marist adjunct professor Freddie Coleman. Freddie, draft's coming up in a few days.
Yeah.
How excited are we?
I'll tell you this, Jonathan, it's going to be the most wide open draft we've seen the last 20 to 25 years, specifically because no quarterback. could potentially not go in the top 10 of the draft. And so many people are wondering what Jacksonville's going to do with the new coaching staff and also Trent Baalke calling the shots. What is Detroit going to do? Are they going to stay there? You got the Jets and Giants with 2 picks each in the top 10. That's how wide open this draft is going to be.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like, tell me about maybe 1 or 2 teams in the top 10 that you're really going to be interested in monitoring on draft night.
That's a good question, because one team is definitely the Giants, because now you got Joe Schoen in as your general manager. You got a brand new coaching staff coming in, replacing everything that Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge was doing. So how much are you going to go after somebody that can protect your quarterback in Daniel Jones? Because Brian Dable, we have seen what he's been able to do with Josh Allen, his complete progress that was explosive, what he did for the Buffalo Bills. So this will be a project case with Daniel Jones. What kind of draft they have will tell us exactly what they feel about Daniel Jones. That if they go for an offensive lineman and maybe a wide receiver, they're not worried about the defense. If they go for the defensive help, then it tells you exactly how much pressure Daniel Jones is going to be in maybe his only year playing for Brian Dable with the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a weak quarterback class, one of the weakest we've seen in a while. But are there any teams you anticipate trading up? Maybe it doesn't have to be for a quarterback, but like making a move on Thursday night?
I can see the Kansas City Chiefs making a move, because they don't need a quarterback, Jonathan, but they have the picks 29 and number 30. And even if they stay there, they're going to get a wide receiver. But if they want to get somebody that they believe can be that next dude to replace Tyreek Hill, I could see them maybe packaging something and moving up. I don't see the Patriots doing that. That's not what they do. But I see the Patriots staying where they are and getting more offensive help to help out Mac Jones and help out that offensive line. And I'll keep an eye on the Philadelphia Eagles as well. They got 2 picks in the top 20, top 25. They may be in the market to say, okay, we got Devontae Smith. If we believe in Jalen Hurts, who else can we get to make sure that this is going to be further and further progression when it comes to Jalen Hurts about to go in the second full year starting quarterback in Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, as long as the Eagles don't leapfrog the Giants again. But yeah, just like wrapping it up, what's your favorite part of draft night, if you have to choose?
Oh, my goodness. I think the anticipation if something is going to happen or something not going to happen, Jonathan. But to me, my favorite moment is always seeing the draft players getting up on the stage. And I'll never forget being there the first year in New York City when Gerald McCoy started this trend when he was drafted out of Oklahoma, drafted by Tampa Bay. He gets up on the stage and he gives a big bear hug to Roger Goodell. He was so thrilled to be in the National Football League, and he could not contain his excitement. That's always one of my favorite parts. But the most interesting part this year is, when is the first quarterback going to be taken? Is it going to be Carolina taking him at number 6, or who can try to trade up into that spot? Malik Willis seems to be going to the Pittsburgh Steelers number 20. But what if somebody wants him and trades above the Pittsburgh Steelers, then what do they do from that standpoint? So the anticipation of what could happen, what might not happen, always is one of the best things about draft night, whether it's first round, second round, third round, or rounds 4 through 7.
He's Freddie Coleman, and he knows way more than I do. So thank you for joining us, Freddie.
My pleasure, brother.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now getting to the next pick, we have the Washington Commanders. And with the 11th pick in the 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL mock draft, the Washington Commanders select Zion Johnson, offensive lineman, Boston College.
Yeah, I mean, I can't just see Zion Johnson out there on the board and not take him. Sure, there are shinier pieces out there, right? Drake London's still on the board. Charles Cross is a guy that's really good. But Zion Johnson is a guy who's almost guaranteed to be an all-pro in the NFL. He's a fantastic player. He's going to be a difference maker on that Commanders team. And what's important about it is that they need to protect Carson Wentz. There are plenty of receivers in this draft. Yes, they were thinking about Chris Olave. That was on my radar. He's a great guy. But this is a deep wide receiver class. They could always get something later on. And this pick, it just had to be done. Zion Johnson is too good for Washington to pass up.
You know what? I think I see a little bit of this pick too, because I think we are starting to see offensive line prioritized a little bit in this draft. But I think part of it too is we're starting to see a guy who very early in the process was viewed as a top, potentially 5 pick, now falling outside of the top 10 and even further now. And that's Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. I wonder if that's showing you at all, maybe not only how teams view Kyle Hamilton a little bit, but maybe also how they view safeties in generals. And I think a little bit. I mean, Kyle Hamilton's a pretty big guy. You know, it's beautiful size for the safety position, but I wonder if there's something that could potentially throw teams off, because we've heard that teams are potentially seeing Kyle Hamilton slip down their boards.
Yeah, I just want to throw in there too, really quick. We kind of all knew this was going to happen, and I think probably will happen tomorrow night as well. We're now 11 picks in, not a single quarterback has come off the board. right?
It's interesting.
I-
Unless there's someone that's fallen in love with one, I don't know if you're going to see. I don't know if you're going to see one come off before here.
Exactly. It doesn't. I think where we're at right now, I don't think any team so far in the moves we have made would be taking quarterback.
Well, now
yet.
the other thing that comes up real quick,
Yeah,
if I don't mean to cut Zach and
No,
Connor off,
no.
the other thing that comes up real quick is maybe a team that was sitting pretty close to this spot, who was maybe thinking about trade up, one of these mid-round picks, can be like, all right, maybe we can wait a little bit here. Your board's getting a little shorter of teams you have to jump potentially.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that you also have to consider.
Yeah, that's a good point. Last year, too, with Mac Jones, he kept falling in the draft, and he fell right into the Patriots' lap. They would probably wanted to move up to him, and they realized they didn't need to. But, I embrace what Connor's doing here. The surprise picks. I mean, Zion Johnson, it's not as much of a it's a reach, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him go early. Somebody could fall in love with him. He's an awesome story. He was a 0-star recruit. Nobody knew about him. He came out, and now he's going to be a first-round pick in the draft. You love to see stories like that. And Washington, competitors of my Giants they can do whatever they want. I would be a little more intimidated by a receiver, but Zion Johnson, I like the pick. The potential is unreal. He's young, growth into the game of football too. As a 0-star recruit, I could see Zion Johnson becoming an All-Pro.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, though, to shore up the front, as you said. I think they still have time. Carson Wentz he's not that old, not old enough where, okay, we have to win right now. And with how bad that division is and how unpredictable it is every year, I think they still have another year to build some guys, get some depth, get some good starting pieces which I think we tend to devalue offensive linemen a little bit. Offensive linemen are a huge part of winning games. They got to protect Carson Wentz. They have to establish the run game. They got to make sure Carson has time to throw. It all starts with Zion Johnson.
Yeah, that's one last thing on this. The control room back there, shout out to the good work in the control room. Absolutely hate this pick. They obliterating my ear with hatred towards Connor's pick. So I just throw that out there. And I will throw, I don't hate the pick. I don't love the pick. But it is hard to see Zion Johnson coming off the board before Charles Cross or Linderbaum. But, the draft has some surprises. But, yeah, the control room, not fan.
Oh, now we're going to Minnesota for the next pick. And with the 12th pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the Vikings select Trent McDuffie, cornerback from Washington.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Vikings have an actual chance, believe it or not, have an actual chance to take this division this year. I think with Devontae Adams being gone, the receiving core for the Packers has gone down and kind of sets up a possibility for them to make a run. And one of the first steps they need to make is to pad their secondary. I think now that you have a chance, you don't have any serious threat in your division like Devontae Adams going at you. I think it's a good possibility for them. And Trent McDuffie is a solid corner. He had 25 solo tackles this past year with Washington. His size is a little bit of an issue. He's only 5'11", but I think what he lacks in size, he makes up for in speed. And I think overall he will make an immediate impact with the Vikings. They could possibly, get that little jump they need and maybe even take their division.
Yeah, I like the pick. I don't think they're going to take the division. Aaron Rodgers will still carve up the rookie corner. But I do like the Trent McDuffie, the fit of the corner. I think the Vikings are a sneaky team to watch for a quarterback because Kirk Cousins only has 1 year left on his contract. I don't think they're going to bite on the quarterback. But they're an interesting team. I still think the Packers are above them. But Trent McDuffie, the secondary, they swung and missed a couple years ago in the secondary on Mike Hughes in the first round. So they're going to have to attack that. New general manager, new head coach, and Kevin O'Connell. So always unpredictable what they'll do. But the Trent McDuffie pick, that's a solid pick. It's not like a Connor-like reach. It's a solid pick.
Whoa, what are you trying to say? Listen, I think, Rob, I really thought you were going to pick Kyle Hamilton. I thought he was the guy there. They needed safety. But I'm not going to lie to you. I like the Trent McDuffie pick. He's a good guy. He has a lot of room to grow. I think he's going to do big things. And, Zach keeps shutting down my picks, and I don't really appreciate it. When Zion Johnson is an all-pro, and when when people were saying Jameson Williams is the best receiver in the league, and people are like, wow, you know what? The Eagles, man, they made a good move to trade up. And it's going to benefit the Jets, too. Shout out to the Jets. I'm trying to help the Jets out, too.
You just traded as much for Jameson Williams as Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill got traded for this offseason.
That is not true. Because
that is true.
That's fair. I see what you're saying, right? I see what you're saying. But he's a lot cheaper, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right. You were cut from the Dave Gettleman cloth. It happens to some. It's fine.
It's okay. Okay, sorry.
I just want to wrap up on the McDuffie pick real quick. I do like The idea of taking a lockdown corner, if you see him as being that over the safety, I think just as a general, just a general way to go about picking players when you're a team, I'd rather take the lockdown corner than a safety.
Yeah, and to the point of
The 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the Jets select Kyle Hamilton, safety from Notre Dame.
Yeah, the slide stops here. And I mean, this is a guy, Kyle Hamilton. Man, I sound like Chris Collinsworth here. This is a guy, Kyle Hamilton. No, but I mean, this is a guy here. I mean, you talk about the way that he plays the game. This guy has sideline to sideline speed. He fills out a frame. He's 6'4", 220, and he still ran a 40 under 4.6. He's got all the intangibles that you would want in a safety, from speed, sideline to sideline, like I just mentioned, and the ability to come up and absolutely stick you. Look at him stick this guy behind the backfield here. Come on. Not on him. That's incredible. This guy can come up and pound you. He's been compared to Ed Reed in a huge body. I mean, he will come up and stick you if you're getting into his business. This is a pick that I think if the Jets trade back here and he's on the board, I mean, you could see him going at 10 if he's still on the board there to the Jets, let alone to get him at 15. I think he's going to be an absolute difference maker if he falls here. I think that he's definitely got, I think if he gets to this point, the Jets are taking him. So, I mean, that's what happens here. I had a different plan in mind, but hey, when the apple falls to you, you're going to make some apple juice, or how the saying goes.
Yeah.
especially in the Big Apple.
Yeah, I'm going to congratulate you here because I'm completely shocked that Kyle Hamilton fell this far. A couple weeks ago, when we were first starting these mock drafts, I think a lot of people had Kyle Hamilton up there in the top 5, and now we see him fall all the way down here, and it just doesn't make sense to me. This guy has incredible football IQ, some of the best that maybe I've ever seen. He just sees the game, understands the game completely differently. And Nick, as you touched on, he's a thumper. He's not scared to go out there. And that's not always the case with secondary guys and safeties, but he is not scared to go out there to lay the boom and just, he's a game wrecker. He's a game wrecker. He gets behind the line of scrimmage. He brings down running backs before they can even make a cut. Incredible player, and an incredible steal.
Yeah, home run for the Jets. Home run for the Jets. Him falling down this far. That they might even consider him at 10, like Nick said. He might even go as high as 7 to the Giants. He could fit in any of that range, 8 to Atlanta, 9 to Seattle. So he could go much higher. The Jets he fell right into their laps. The perfect secondary piece, the weakest position on the Jets after drafting Thibodeau earlier, is now the secondary. So I think the Jets are in prime position there and made a great pick.
I'm a little I 100% agree with the pick. I think this is a steal for the Jets. The only other thought that I had for the Jets here is maybe going for a guy like Drake London so they can get Zach Wilson some weapons in the receiving core, because what does he really have?
Well, he could.
Here's the thing. I mean, you talk about just what Joe Douglas has done in the past. He drafts wide receivers later on, second round. I mean, you stack up on the defense right now. You're what already has pieces on that defense, you're now adding to. So I think if Kyle Hamilton is here, which obviously, again, all hypothetical, but I could see them potentially, who knows if this trade's not even going to happen. Well, that wasn't the thing against you. I'm saying, how can you predict a trade?
If this trade happens tomorrow, you guys all owe me $50.
This trade ain't
you guys
gonna
all
happen.
You obviously can't predict a trade to any degree. It could be moving up one spot. It's almost impossible to predict.
Yeah.
But again, I think just getting him at this spot, loading up on the defense like that, I mean, it would be a steal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you too. And I'd like to touch on your point you made as far as wide receivers and offense, right? It makes a lot of sense for them to get one later on. That's something I've thought of at the beginning, is that, the Jets, I know a lot of people want to go out and get that flashy guy. I know some people thought, Drake London, maybe Chris Olave, Jameson Williams if he felt with the Jets. But honestly, I feel like the Jets have good playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Elijah Moore was a breakout star for them. Corey Davis didn't really live up to expectations, but I think he still has some potential. And Denzel Mims is a good player too. So I think right now, as far as first round talent goes, you get the best player available. You don't just get a wide receiver to fit your scheme. You get the best player available, and right now, that's Kyle Hamilton.
Real quick, just to wrap up on that, talking about the weapons too, I mean, you could add in Denzel Mims there. I know he hasn't lived up to it at this point in his career, but if you're going to compare what you already have on the roster, Mims, do you want to go out and spend a pick on Drake London, who's basically a bigger version of Mims? Yeah. I mean, I think I'd rather try and reconstruct Mims a little bit, try to get him right and fill that kind of big receiver void. And like you said, you've already got guys like Elijah Moore. So with that, I will throw it back to Commissioner Kinane.
Well, we're going down to the bayou for the pick that'll mark the halfway point of the draft in the first round. And with the 16th pick in the 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select Malik Willis, quarterback from the Fightin' Falwells of Liberty University.
There it is.
Well, this is a golden situation for the Saints. The fact that they still get to keep their second first round pick, and Malik Willis falls to them at this position. Now, this is a guy, Malik Willis. He's not going to come in here and be fantastic right away. He's going to have to sit for a little bit, and obviously he's going to be able to do that behind Jameis Winston, who they brought back. This guy has got a ton of potential. It's incredible to imagine what he can do with the athletic traits he has. He has a huge arm, his ability to scramble in the pocket. Now, I know he's been to a small school in Liberty, hasn't faced that top-tier challenge, and yes, his accuracy has been questioned at times, but I think that this is the guy that can excite you about his potential, and I don't know if you're going to find that with any other player that's going to get taken here, any other quarterback who could potentially be available here in the first round. So for the Saints to get him at this point, I think that's what they would do if he's still on the board when they're picking here, which who knows, that could actually be pretty feasible that he falls this far and that the Saints pull the trigger on him.
I'm kind of surprised that you're doing a little bit of a conflict of interest here, Nick. You're a Steelers fan. The Steelers pick at 20. I thought, from the start, I thought you were going to trade up and try to get him. But no, it makes sense. This makes sense for the Saints to go out and get him. He can have some time to sit down and learn. There are really no rush to win. Yes, they have really good players right now, but I don't think it hurts them to sit and wait and let Malik Willis learn. He's very, very raw, though. So they're going to have to give him time, work on his accuracy. His arm strength is already there. His scrambling ability is there. But just learning the game is going to be huge for them. And I think that he could spend at least 1, maybe 2 years if it's not working out, just learning the game and learning how to compete in New Orleans.
Yeah, Malik Willis has a crazy high ceiling. It's the highest ceiling in the draft. He's probably, in my view, he's probably the only quarterback who deserves to be a first-round pick. Multiple will end up being first-round pick because they get pushed up because it's a premium position. But, you saw those athletic ability. Rarely do you have in the draft the fastest quarterback, the most athletic quarterback, also with the biggest arm. He fits very well in a dome in New Orleans. He'll be slinging that thing all over. And he has very similar game style to Jameis Winston, who will be sitting behind early on in his career. So that fits perfectly. It's a great fit. The Saints now have 2 first-round picks to take Willis and still sit in 2 picks and have a chance to grab another player to go around with Malik Willis. It's the perfect situation. It's the perfect fit. And the Saints definitely seem like a team lurking in the shadows for Malik Willis.
All right, now to the team with the most non-existent fan base in the NFL. With the 17th pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the LA Chargers select Drake Wilson, wideout from USC.
Drake London.
Drake London.
Did I write Wilson?
That's all right, Drake London. Drake, if you're watching,
Come on,
we're
Kamish.
sorry.
Yeah, so first of all, this guy from California, it's where he was born and raised, went to school in California. He's a California boy. Look at this catch right here. Ooh. But he's staying in Cali. I love this pick for the Chargers. He's gotten a lot of, borderline DK Metcalf-like comparisons with his size, 6'5", 210. He's an absolute monster of a receiver. The Chargers already have Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. They have a decent offense. They have decent weapons. But I think this is a smart move for the Chargers here. Get them one more huge piece for them to pad up that offense, to get ready to make this push. They're in a stacked division this year, and they need to make some serious moves to be able to compete. So I think for the Chargers here, it's the best move.
I will say on Drake London, this is a guy that I've passed on with the Jets. I think one thing that's a concern with him is the speed with him. Mm-hmm. I mean, you made the comparison to DK Metcalf. I mean, yeah, he measures out body-wise, but DK Metcalf can be a speedster as well down the field. I don't think Drake London has that. He relies almost entirely on his size. So, yes, I still think he's going to go in the first round. But for any team that picks him, I think there's concern there, especially because he didn't run a 40 time at his pro day either. Partially due to injury, but I mean, how much of that was really injury versus knowing that the 40 time wouldn't look up good?
Yeah, I do think that it's a big fit for Drake London will determine his career, and going to LA is the perfect fit, playing with Justin Herbert, who's a top 5 quarterback. So Drake London, he is very similar to Kenny Golladay too. He's a big contested catch guy. He's not a speed guy. So going to LA where Justin Herbert can sling it, and he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, and pairing a receiver corps with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, that's a pretty deadly receiving corps right there.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not really crazy about this pick. Nick, I'm going to completely agree with you here. I am not really crazy about Drake London. I'm not, it's weird because I think, Nick, you're right. He struggles with his speed. And we saw that as far as the combine, not running the combine because he didn't want to show that he probably ran a 4.7, I would say, which is not what you need in the NFL, not what you need to get separation as a wide receiver, as a starting wideout in the NFL. Personally, I think like the Chargers don't necessarily need wide receiver just because of what we're saying, right? They have Keenan Allen, they have Mike Williams. I'm surprised, Rob, I'm surprised you didn't go Charles Cross here. He's still sitting on the board there. He's looking right for the taking. But yeah, no, I'm not crazy about Drake London. I still think there are guys I like better, Jahan Dotson being one of them. I think he's a really good star that can come late in round 1, early in day 2. So yeah, Drake London really isn't for me, and that's okay. I'm going to just disagree with you on this one, Rob. I'm going to pull Zach here and kind of dislike your pick. But yeah, no, I don't know how I feel about Drake London.
Before we move on, I'm just going to stick up for Rob here.
Yeah.
If Connor disagrees, Rob, you made the right choice. Drake London, I think there's a lot more hate about Drake London. I don't think he's anywhere near as like question mark prone as these guys are making him sound. I think he's a legit prospect. I think he's a first round pick. If he wasn't injured, he would be a slam. Like if he didn't just break his leg at the end of last season, he'd be a slam dunk first round pick. And you know the cross pick would fit the Chargers, but they're kind of a luxury team. They have a lot on the board, so I think Drake London fits.
And listen, I'd like to take us back to a time where a quarterback named Josh Allen was drafted, and everyone thought that he was the worst possible pick for the Buffalo Bills to make. People were canceling their season tickets. People were getting angry. Everyone was saying the Bills made a mistake, and look at what Josh Allen did. I think that's going to be Drake London for this team.
I'll also say one thing on Drake London, too. I think a comparison that fits him a little more, and people have mentioned it, is Mike Evans in Tampa Bay. I don't know if one of you guys mentioned it before, but if he can pan out and be that, I mean, Mike Evans he's got speed, but he doesn't have DK Metcalf speed. If Drake London can have speed similar to Mike Evans, and he can go up there and catch the ball in contested catches, maybe even better than DK Metcalf, I think there's definitely potential there.
And before we send it back to the commish, I can't believe the commissioner of the NFL just took a shot at one of his fan bases. The worst, least, smallest fan base. I mean, commish, what are we doing? You can't be calling out the Chargers like that.
Well, now I might get sued for defamation twice. First with mispronouncing Mr. London's name, and then the Chargers thing. But we're going to put that aside, and we're going to move on to the next pick. The Jets are back up, and with the 18th pick in the 2022 Halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the Jets select Chris Olave, wide receiver from Ohio State.
Yeah, another wide receiver that's coming off the board here, and the Jets trade back. I talked about maybe a wide receiver in the second round, but Chris Olave is still on the board there. And this is a guy where when you look at how the Jets are constructed, I mentioned Denzel Mims before, potentially developing into a contested catch receiver. If he can, if that can happen. Elijah Moore, who they took last year, is a guy that I think is kind of similar to Garrett Wilson. So I don't really see them going in that direction because I think that, you're kind of drafting the same player. If you can go out and get Chris Olave, that's a guy who's a refined route runner at this point in his career. He can create separation through his route running ability. I think he can also blow the top off of a defense. So I think that's a lot of stuff that the Jets don't have. He brings a big play capability to their team. So I think he's more of a wide receiver that they would target in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jets are really stealing the draft here, and it's partially my fault, but I'm okay with it.
It's all your fault, bro.
It is my fault, but I love this pick, Nick. Let me just say that. I love what you're doing here with this draft. You got the wide receiver. You got Kyle Hamilton while he was still on the board. And the Thibodeau pick was a little questionable just because we don't know what he's going to really be like. He had a little bit of a down year. Doesn't matter, though. You're shoring up the defensive side. You got a much-needed wide receiver threat. Now you have Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, and Chris Olave in the mix. As long as Zach Wilson can produce, this team is set.
Yeah, who's going to be canceling season tickets? Eagles fans after Jameson Williams just got traded for Kyle Hamilton. And
Break that trades between myself was okay.
I mean, PFF kind of liked it. PFF said the Chiefs would only had a 24% chance to accept your Steelers offer. But, I see what Nick's doing. He's trying to set back and take a quarterback later in the draft for the Steelers. I see what he's doing. But the pick's great. The Chiefs need receiver help after losing Tyreek Hill. No one's going to come in and beat Tyreek Hill, but you need extra help up there. Everything else, the Chiefs have luxury to trade up because they have so many picks. They're not going to take 12 rookies in this draft with their 12 picks, which is tied for the most in football. So Treylon Burks, he fits. He's going to come in, and he's going to ball for the Chiefs because anybody putting that offense balls out.
What is going on with this running back or wide receiver run here? That's 4 in a row now?
Kicked off by the genius GM of the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me just say that.
Bro.
Let me just say that. The genius work of the GM of the I don't know who that could be. He did a great job.
Yeah, you're going to get mugged on your way home from the office.
Ricardo likes it. That's a Ricardo
was running, bro.
Nah, Ricardo likes it.
All right, so we've reached pick 20, and now we are going to send it out A special message from a special member of MCTV all the way out in Italy.
What's up, guys? It's Matt here, all the way from Florence, Italy. It's a shame I can't be drafting with you boys this year. It's always a blast when we get together and do this. I'm sure at this point, Vete has already tried to, trade just about every pick that he has. You get the Steelers up, you get a quarterback. Zach is probably, carefully dissecting all the Giants picks to make sure that the team isn't a dumpster fire like we know it will be. I'm sure Connor's already plugged how great the Raiders are, even though they're not here in the first round, and Rob's probably doing the same for Denver. So it's overall, though, I'm sure you guys are having a blast, and I'm really ashamed I can't be there. This is a very interesting draft. You guys are hopefully doing a good job. I can't remember the last time we had a first overall pick that had this much, conversation about it. The last 4 years have all been quarterbacks, and the last 3 have been pretty consensus. It's been since Baker in 2018 that we didn't really know what was going to happen, but we didn't even do that on the show. But man, it's going to be interesting to hear who goes first overall and how you guys kind of shake this up. I got a few bold predictions though. For starters, I think that the Texans at the 3 pick are going to shock a lot of people. I'm not sure who's picking for them, but I think the Texans are going to go with a corner. I think a lot of people want them to go pass rusher or tackle because those are the, kind of the consensus guys. But I think you could very well see Derek Stingley go 3rd overall. And I personally am mocking it that way. Secondly, I think that Charles Cross is going to jump Evan Neal as the 2nd tackle taken. I think that Iguanu is going to go, first. I think the Jets maybe could take him, but I think Cross is in play for the Giants at 5. I've heard some concerns about Neal's health, and Cross has been linked to a lot of the teams up top. So I think that's certainly a possibility. I have no idea who's going number 1 overall. Don't even ask me. I'm leaning Walker right now, but if you ask me in 20 minutes, it could be Hudson. And lastly, my final prediction is that Desmond Ridder is going to be the 2nd quarterback taken. It's going to jump Kenny Pickett, be 2nd taken, and it's going to be by the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans are in play for a quarterback. I think he's 34. He's getting up there in age. Didn't have that great of a year last year, and I think the Titans are going to look to switch things up a little bit and bring in Ridder, who's got a lot of fans in the Mike Vrabel camp. I think he would fit well into that offense where, behind a decent O-line, but handed the ball to Derrick Henry, not asking him to do too much. And I think that I don't know if we'll see him by the end of this year. He's a little unpolished, which is perfect because Tannehill will still go. But I think that he's going to jump Kenny Pickett and be taken as 2nd quarterback. I still think Pickett maybe goes in the first round. Some of those teams down to the back end, maybe Detroit's 2nd pick, maybe Atlanta or Seattle, somebody else hop back in, but get that 5th-year option on them. But those are my predictions. I hope you guys take that into account. Maybe, as you're finishing up the draft here. But I really do miss you guys. I hope you're having a blast doing this. I'm really not going to be able to watch the draft because it's 3 a.m. So I'm going to wake up and find out what happened. Luckily, my team, the Broncos, I don't have to really worry about it. So be good, boys. I miss you for real.
Oh, no.
No, I already picked.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Before we get right into what's going on right now with the trades that are in the horizon and some more of our picks, I'm just going to run through, in case you guys are just joining us, the picks we have so far. Trayvon Walker went number 1 to the Jaguars, Aiden Hutchinson to the Lions, Sauce Gardner to the Texans, Kayvon Thibodeau to the Jets, Evan Neal to the Giants, Ikem Ekwonu to the Carolina Panthers, Derek Stingley to the Giants again, Garrett Wilson to the Falcons, Jermaine Johnson to the Seahawks, and then by a genius move from the Philadelphia GM, traded up with the Jets, swapped the pick 10 for picks 15 and 18, and the Eagles got Jameson Williams. Zion Johnson went to the Commanders, Trent McDuffie to the Vikings, George Karlaftis to the Texans, Jordan Davis to the Ravens, Kyle Hamilton to the Eagles, Malik Willis to the Saints. Oh, I'm sorry, Kyle Hamilton, apologies, to the Jets. Drake London to the Chargers, Chris Olave to the Jets, Jahan Dotson to the Saints, and Traylon Burks to the Chiefs. That happened in a trade. Everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much again for joining us. And shout out right now to the chat. The chat has absolutely been blowing up this entire time. Everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for having some interactions with us. We see it all. We love it all. And thanks for being with us on this fun night of NFL mock drafts.
All right, so we have another trade to announce here. The Tennessee Titans are moving up from the 26th pick up to 21 in a trade with the New England Patriots, and the Titans will also be giving up their third-round pick this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go out here, and I had to make this trade happen. Another trade to go on and move up. I mean, Belichick loves to move back, so we talked him into it. Mike Vrabel got him on the phone, said, "Hey, what's up?" They went out. Tennessee Titans went out and got my boy Desmond Ridder. He's not really my boy, but I'm just gonna say that Desmond Ridder went out there and is now a Tennessee Titan. And you might be saying, why? This team is good. Do they need a quarterback? Ryan Tannehill's at the age of 35 years old, and he looked absolutely terrible this year. He looked like Ryan Tannehill back when he used to play in Miami. So, yes, the Titans offense pretty much runs through Derrick Henry, but they still need to have a good quarterback who can make plays. We saw what happened when they did this year. They weren't able to make it to the Super Bowl, which a lot of people thought they would. They lost pretty early on in the playoffs. So, yeah, Desmond Ridder is going to have a lot of time to sit behind Ryan Tannehill, learn the system. And when he potentially does start, whether it's this year or next year, it doesn't matter because there's not going to be too much pressure on him because Derrick Henry is going to be able to carry that offense. He's just going to need to be able to come in, scramble out of the pocket if he's got pressure on him, and just make the throws. That's it. Just make the throws. Get it to guys like A.J. Brown. Get out there and just get the job done, really. Something that Ryan Tannehill didn't do last year. Desmond Ridder is now a Tennessee Titan.
Listen, I know Billy Boy loves to make his trades when it comes to drafting, and he'd rather just, sit with his dog and not make draft picks. But I think if I had my sound on my computer, Pro Football Focus would have just laughed at me as I tried to force that trade through. So I don't know about that, but
No, we only moved down 5 spots. We got a third-round pick. That's the perfect Belichick trade.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think I like this pick for Tennessee, though. I certainly agree about Tannehill, and I think it became very apparent for Tennessee in some of their struggles because they did manage to get by without Derrick Henry, but could have been a lot more of a threat if they had somewhat of a, not Ryan Tannehill quarterback. He's got some skill, but I think this is definitely a solid move, preparing for the future, getting ready to kind of bring that young guy in to take over and have an effective move on offense.
Look, I'm Bill Belichick. I called up Mike Vrabel, who used to play for me, and I said, Vrabes, Tannehill ain't it. You need to trade up. I convinced him to trade up. He did trade up, and he took Desmond Ridder. I won. I got my third-round pick. I forced him to move up. I made him take Desmond Ridder, made him think Tannehill was worse. Tannehill's fine. They don't need to trade up for a quarterback. There's a lot of smoke here because Desmond Ridder went to Cincinnati, and Luke Fickell's best friend, Cincinnati's head coach, with Mike Vrabel. But I'm Bill Belichick. I tell people what to do. They listen. They do it. I got an extra third-round pick, and I'm still going to get the guy 5 spots later that I wanted now.
I'll say real quick, too, just on the pick. I like Desmond Ridder because whether you talk about how much upside he has, it's not like it's a super complicated offense, and it's so obviously centered around Derrick Henry that I think it's definitely a good fit, especially if he doesn't have to play away. Or, who knows eventually how long it takes for him to get into the starting role. One thing I got to say, though, you guys are acting like these PFF trade grades are gold over there.
The PFF would have loved that Patriot.
But you guys are the same guys loving all these PFF.
Also play right tackle as well if the need be. He's a really great Swiss Army knife almost on the offensive line. They can plug him in anywhere. And I think the Cardinals really need some help on that interior offensive line. So this is a great pick for them. Kenyon Green falling down. He's a really great player, and he should pan out to be one of the better offensive linemen in the NFC.
I love Kenyon Green. He may be my favorite guard in this whole draft. He like you just said, he's kind of got the potential to go and become like a star guard that we've seen many players pan out to in the past. And the thing that I really like about him is the fact that he has had so many starts throughout his career in college. He started 35 games in college, and it's been all over the line. So when you're talking about an offensive lineman needing to be incredibly intelligent, him knowing what all of his offensive line mates are doing in every pass scheme, I think that's going to be incredibly valuable, and it's going to add to the reason why he's going to be so valuable to whatever organization he goes to.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals, anytime we can add line help when you have quarterback Kyler Murray, who's smaller, he's injury prone, you got to do it. It's weird. Kenyon Green was a top prospect a couple weeks ago. He's fallen down the board, but it's good to see the Cardinals swipe him up here. It's a good pick, good solid pick for Connor.
And honestly, this might be a make Kyler Murray happy kind of pick because we know there was all that offseason drama going on with him. He wants an extension or he wants out, but seems like he's going to stay with Arizona. I think this is a solid pick to kind of make him a little bit happier, get him a little bit more protection up front.
Okay, well, I won't give this team away right away, but let me just say that they have the most insufferable, annoying, and deluded fan base, maybe in the world even. With the 24th pick in the 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah.
Yeah, I mean the Cowboys are the Cowboys. They definitely have some other needs that they probably should address, but Devin Lloyd, I think, fell quite a bit here. So I think taking him here is a solid pick. You want to talk versatility, Devin Lloyd. You know, this guy can blitz, he can cover the middle, and he even showed this past season he does a pretty solid job covering tight ends as well, which in an area where tight ends are kind of a big deal for certain teams that they're going to play this year. I think this is a good move that they have a guy that can assist in that kind of situation. Size-wise, I think he matches up well with the Cowboys, and there's still some question marks with Van Der Esch whether or not he's going to be staying in Dallas. So I think this is a very strong move for the Cowboys. Zach?
Yeah, I agree. I think Devin Lloyd's a strong pick here, but I think they would end up with a offensive lineman. I think offensive line is more of a pressing need in Dallas right now. They got to protect Dak Prescott, and they got to help give time. Now that they got rid of Cooper, there's even more, and Cedric Wilson left. They need even more beef up front. A receiver wouldn't be shocking if they potentially trade up, but I think they would lean more towards offensive tackle over linebacker.
I think that they definitely got to get some help on the offensive line at some point, but I think the idea of getting Devin Lloyd here is actually pretty intriguing because you talk about what they had with Mike Parsons last year. The ability to move him up front and rush the passer in more of that capacity rather than play him in his typical linebacker position. He had success there. I mean, you could potentially continue to do that, and then you bring in Devin Lloyd to kind of fill in that more stereotypical or prototypical linebacker role.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I do agree. I think they could have went offensive line here. That would have been a huge help for Dak. But like you said, right, we often think, they have a linebacker. They're still with Micah Parsons. But Micah Parsons is really more of an edge rusher than a linebacker. So getting out there, getting Devin Lloyd to fill in that void now that they have a linebacker is huge for the Cowboys. And if we're being honest here, that defense in Dallas always need help. It's absolutely Swiss cheese.
I just don't think there's any offensive line, like serious offensive line value here for Dallas that's not going to be there later on in the draft. So that's why I kind of went with the Lloyd pick here because I think he's not going to go outside of the first round, but they could still get some solid offensive line help.
I would have jumped all over Linderbaum. I think he'd be the perfect fit.
Seems like the control room enjoyed that one.
I heard that one.
Big thank you coming out from there. But now we're moving on to pick number 25, New York's team. This one goes out to Zach Arth with the 25th pick in the 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL draft. The Buffalo Bills, the team that circles the wagons like none other, select Breece Hall, running back from Iowa State.
Yeah, so picking for the Bills here. The Bills are one of the harder teams to pick through because if you look at the roster, there's not a single hole. The biggest hole in their team is running back, and running back is traditional, too rich to take them in the first round. But the one benefit is you get a fifth year on them, and you can kind of replace them, run them for 5 years, and let them retread the tires. Breece Hall's great out of the as a runner, and he's also explosive in the open field. He's a solid blocker, and he's a great receiving threat. He was one of the best backs at Iowa State. He helped transform that program, and I think he's kind of the perfect fit. If running back's really their most pressing need, they can address it now. He's better than all of the other. He's significantly better, in my view, than all of the other running backs in the class. And, the Bills have shown they're not afraid to take a risk here. They don't have to hit a home run on this pick. They just need solid play and to add to the offense that already has Josh Allen by adding a potential dynamic runner. It seems like a pretty easy choice for them.
Yeah, I really like this pick here as well. And obviously with his size, he's not going to be a Derrick Henry type running back, right? They're not going to give him the ball to run it up someone's throat and either, get some critical yardage or even break off some big plays. But I think overall he fits Buffalo's scheme well. He's a good receiving back, and I think he fits Buffalo very, very well.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Let me just give a quick shout out here to a buddy of mine. Shout out to Sean Courtney because we were talking before the show, running through all types of picks and what could happen tomorrow. And he actually said Buffalo might go running back with this pick. And sure enough, that's exactly what they did. So, yeah, this is an interesting fit. I think it's going to be good for that offense. It's only going to get better and better. It's already good enough to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. And if they had a second overtime, Buffalo might have been able to pull through. But getting a running back will be even more helpful because you saw last year how much they relied on Josh Allen and his ability to make plays and Stephon Diggs and his ability to make plays.
I could see them adding a line. I don't know if it makes the most sense with Linderbaum, though.
I love it. I think it's perfect. I think the Bucs just took the best player available, and I think they're in the perfect situation to do that. They can kind of plug and play Linderbaum. It'd be cool. He'd be reunited with Tristan Wirfs, who was also an Iowa first-round tackle. He has some versatility too, and he's kind of fallen in the mocks the last couple weeks. But to have Linderbaum sitting on the board for the Bucs to get more protection, because you do have to remember they did lose Alex Kappa in free agency, so it makes some sense to plug in and get a guy who can play center and guard.
All right, going on to pick 28 now. With the 28th pick in the 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Sky Moore, wide receiver from Western Michigan in Kalamazoo.
Yeah, so the Packers sat here after taking Charles Cross because he fell earlier, and they come back and they're going to address the wide receiver position in the first round. And Sky Moore is the guy who's left on the board with the highest first-round grade from the most people. He makes the most sense. He's a shifty receiver. He broke 26 tackles last year, first in the FBS. And the Packers need speed, especially speed. Losing Devontae Adams, he was their big speed guy, which is as a big body guy, which is why he's the best receiver in football. Shout out to the Raiders. So I think it's good for them to add speed to the room. Sky Moore fits perfectly. The receiver room is really thin right now. Allen Lazard's kind of their only guy right there. They got Randall Cobb, so they got to address it. They took Amari Rodgers last year. Sky Moore's similar. He's in a huge game earlier this year where they played Pitt and Kenny Pickett. Western Michigan stunned Pittsburgh, and Sky Moore had 10 catches for 123 yards and a touchdown, which is huge, and it's good to see him against high competition. I think he fits, and he's from the Great Lakes region, so he knows how to play in frigid Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's a great fit. I mean, Green Bay really desperately needed a wide receiver after losing Devontae Adams and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They needed to get something out there, and they got it in Sky Moore. Hopefully, Aaron Rodgers can get it done. I mean, I'm sure he'll still have an excuse, but yeah, I mean, this is a good pick for them. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I see Sky Moore being more of a Valdez-Scantling kind of replacement. I mean, there is no replacing Devontae Adams for the Packers this year, next year, and God knows how long before they get that kind of talent again at the wide receiver position. But this is a good pick. Get some weapons for Aaron Rodgers so he finally shuts up about it. And, you know, he does have that speed. He did have that great game in Pittsburgh. He fits well for them. Hopefully he will, you know, produce. I see it possible that he becomes their number one guy. You know, if his rookie minicamp goes well and all that stuff, he can become the number one guy straight to start the season. Because as you said, they really don't have that much. They have, you know, Randall Cobb, and he's like 60 nowadays. So he's not really producing as much for them either. So I really like this.
Yeah, I think Sky Moore's the perfect complement to Allen Lazard, who's a very underrated receiver. Allen Lazard's a bigger body, slower guy, can be the contested catches, and Sky Moore and Amari Rodgers, who came on later in the year, two faster slot receivers, fits for Aaron Rodgers.
All right. With the 29th pick in the 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Kaiir Elam, cornerback from Florida.
Yeah, the Chiefs decided to go with Elam here at the corner position. The decision here, I think, is because when you look at the way that their roster is positioned right now, corner is definitely a position of need. And Elam's a guy who's been rising up boards as of late as we approach day one. I see him going in the first round. I think it's a fit. Elam is another guy, kind of like Gardner, who we talked about earlier, who went third overall in our mock draft. He's really long, really physical, has length, and he's got athleticism. And he's a guy at Florida. He played well in press man coverage as well as zone. So I think he can come in, be kind of versatile. And he's going to, honestly, from day one, I think he's going to play on the outside on that Chiefs defense.
Yeah, no doubt. I think this is something that that's what it's not coming, but yeah, no doubt. This is something that the Chiefs needed to get done. If you look at their team last year, I think the one thing that was really missing was a good corner or a good secondary in general. The only guy back there was Tyrann Mathieu. That was it. So going out there and getting, I'm kind of surprised you didn't go Andrew Booth, because Andrew Booth is a really good player as well. But I like the Elam.
I thought about it.
Yeah,
I thought about it, and
yeah.
that's why I kind of see it. I think the top three are kind of set.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you never know, but I think basically the size that Elam brings, the length, the physicality that I talked about. I think it's a lot of stuff that maybe Andrew Booth may be better right away, but I think Elam is a guy who's still going to start right away.
Yeah,
and he can develop even more.
Yeah, I like the pick a lot. It's something that the Chiefs really need to get done. So great spot for them. Moving forward to get a receiver and staying in their original spot at 29 and getting a guy that they really needed. So it's great for them.
All right. Just getting the pick here The Pittsburgh Steelers are finally up after trading their selection at 20, and with the 30th pick in the 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL draft. Going to build the suspense here. The Steelers select Matt Corral, quarterback from Ole Miss.
Yeah, this is where the Steelers go. And look, I know the story would be nice, bring in quarterback Kenny Pickett from Pitt, keep him in Pittsburgh, but you're not here for feel-good stories. You're here for your future of your organization. And I think if you do that, you got to go with a quarterback who has more upside.
Normal size hands.
Normal size hands. But no, I believe Matt Corral has more upside. I believe if he didn't get hurt, there'd probably be talk about him as a surefire first rounder. I think he's going to be right in this range of late first, early second. I don't think he's going to be there when the Steelers pick later in the second round. So if you can trade back and get him, if he's the guy, hey, take him at 20, whatever you got to do. I'm a big fan of Corral. I think he's got much higher upside down the road than Kenny Pickett. And hey, he doesn't have to start away. If you're bringing in a guy like Kenny Pickett, what's his upside in year one? Maybe the same as maybe his floor is the same as Mitchell Trubisky right now. Mason Rudolph down the road, is he really going to be that much better than potentially Matt Corral, who I believe has a higher ceiling? So I think playing in the long game here at this point, you could try to get your quarterback in the future here if you're the Steelers.
Yeah, I like this pick. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. And there's not going to be too much pressure on him. You guys have Mitch Trubisky. He's probably going to lead the team going into this year unless something happens and he gets hurt. But I think it makes a lot of sense. He could sit, again, similar situation as what we said with Desmond Ridder. Sit back, learn. Everybody's taking that Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid approach that happened. Same thing I think is going to happen in Pittsburgh, which I think is really good for them, really smart. Corral has a lot of upside. So, yeah, I like this pick.
100%. Get to sit and develop a little bit. And, hey, he's going to play eventually, but and it's not like Mitchell Trubisky is, going to blow anybody out of the water here. But, again, when you can sit and learn, he's going to need that time to develop, and I think his upside will show when he has that time to develop.
Yeah, spurn the hometown kid, Kenny Pickett. Kind of be surprising if he's left on the board, barring, maybe a little trade up, maybe somebody in the back end of the first round steals him. But, I like it. Corral, his ceiling is definitely higher than Kenny Pickett's, but his floor is definitely lower too.
100%.
I think Kenny Pickett is the safest quarterback in the draft. He's going to come in. He's never going to be a superstar, but he's going to be a solid quarterback. But, I like the Corral pick. The upside is there. And if you want like a guy like Corral, who some people are concerned with some character issues, Pittsburgh is the most stable franchise, so he would fit perfectly.
Yeah, and I mean, if nothing else for the Steelers, this is I hate to use the word rebuild, but a rebuild type of year. They bring him in, they try him out, they see what happens, and in my opinion, next year's draft class is looking to be a lot better than this year. So, maybe sit at 500 this year and see what he can do. If not, bring in someone else next year.
Okay, now to the penultimate pick in the first round, and we have ourselves another trade. Unfortunately, America's sweethearts, Cincinnati Bengals, are trading back, getting a second and fourth round pick from the New York Giants. The Giants have moved up to 31st, and with that 31st pick in the draft, they select Devontae Wyatt, defensive lineman from Georgia.
Yeah, so the Giants did a perfect job in the first two picks of addressing Evan Neal and Sauce Gardner, two of their biggest needs at tackle and corner. And then right here, they didn't want to wait 5 spots. Devontae Wyatt, who you can argue had a better college career than even Trayvon Walker, who was the number 1 pick in the draft. The Giants wisely move up. They have extra picks after 2 trades they made last year. So giving up a 4th isn't that big of a sting to secure. They get a guy like Wyatt. Devontae Wyatt had an 84 PFF grade. I know we're talking about PFF's not the most reliable last year, but it was the best on the Georgia defensive line. He had pressures in 12 of his 14 games last year. He has some versatility. He plays more inside, which wouldn't make him the best fit for the Giants, but he has some ability to play outside too. And in the 3-4 defense, you can push some of your bigger guys outside too. So I think Wyatt would be a good fit. And anybody who can come help rush the passer. Dexter Lawrence might leave next offseason. So if you get a cheap replacement for him with a 5th-year option, I think it would be smart business for Joe Schoen and the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And again, talking about Nick over here trading with himself, Zach, you just kind of did the same thing.
I traded with Rob.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you? Oh,
I had Cincinnati.
Wow. Okay. See, I'm not paying attention.
Yeah,
I'm too busy writing down notes over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do like it. It's a good pick for the Giants. They really need. I mean, I feel like you guys addressed the defensive line a lot of times in these past few drafts, just in general in the offseason. But no, going out there and get a guy like him is really big.
Absolutely. And moving on a little bit here, though, Seems like the two of you had something
Yeah,
brewing
something
over there.
brewing
Something
over
looking
there?
a little suspicious.
Oh yeah. Oh, we had something. Wait until you hear this one.
Something's looking a little suspicious.
Oh yeah, we got
over
one
there.
cooked up.
Yeah, it's a good one.
We
And
have,
you
to
have-
cook something up,
What's your best guess? What do you think we got?
With the last pick.
Get creative with
Well,
it.
some quarterbacks coming off the board here.
Okay.
I mean, if we're getting creative, it's not the Lions aren't staying in their spot; they must be trading, which is kind of surprising because they seem like an ideal
Quarterback
taking team.
Yeah.
You're on to us.
I don't know.
I'll tell you that.
I don't see your. I don't have your draft.
Wait. Let me ask. Who had the Lions?
Connor.
Connor had the Lions, so he's giving it up, and Nick's coming back in.
Mm-hmm.
He's about to take another Steelers quarterback.
Drop
Chiefs, Saints,
He's getting Kenny,
Steelers.
he felt bad,
Jets.
so he's going back up for Kenny Pickett.
I gotta get him. Yeah, we're rebuilding the quarterback.
Hometown guy.
All right, throw it over to the commish. Let us know what did they do.
Well, you two gentlemen, you could not have been more wrong. Usually pick number 32 is reserved for the best team, the Super Bowl winner, but this year it's going to Detroit. So with
Complete opposite.
with
Damn, bro.
the final pick of the first round in the 2022 halftime on the Hudson NFL draft,